Good morning, viewers. It is like, what, 10:16 in the morning on the 20th of May, 2025. And, well, yesterday, by the afternoon, it started getting pretty warm. You had t-shirt weather. But, well, it's got some cloud cover now. It's actually not so cold as it was before. But anyway, it's still cold. Look, you want a new couch? Or at least not a new one, but a... God. It's kind of windy, and I wrote my notes on paper, so I'm kind of in between some apartment buildings, hoping it'll be less windy here. But let's get on with this news here. What's going on? Yesterday, as you know, I was on the, I guess it's, some call it the Belarusian Stonehenge, just a bunch of rocks that were left by the Ice Age. So, okay. Most of the news these days is days just like they've been going on for, for the past weeks anyway. You know, everybody talks about this peace process in Ukraine, and it doesn't ever seem to get any closer than it already is. Somebody, look at this, does a nice job on gardens here. Look at that. This is an apartment building, of course, and people do this privately. Maybe somebody has this side and somebody has that side, or maybe one person's doing both sides. Our apartment building, it looks really crappy. So this one looks good. But, okay. And if you look at this deal, what's going on in Israel, of course, they don't even pretend that there's going to be any kind of a peace process over there, and there never will be. You know, they pretend for many, many decades, over and over and over again, and of course, you guys know what the whole intention is to get rid of all the Palestinians and for Israel to take that land, and it's always been that intention. Everybody knows that. Everybody that is anybody. I want to get over here and look at this thing over here. This is pretty interesting. Find a place to walk over here. Whoa. Wow. Look at this. I don't know what this is right here. Well, somebody's having a lot of fun out here in the garden. Look, they got a stuffed snake there too. Okay, like I said, it's like really terrible, and we're all acclimatized now to all these atrocities that are going on. And of course, since this thing was engineered, I mean, the huge escalation starting, you know, by Israel. Yes, Israel started this big escalation on October 6, 2023. And of course, they provoked and prodded and did everything possible. And then I guess they got a few people from Hamas, who knows what, 10 or 15 of them, some coming on hang gliders. And then Israel obviously massacred a lot of their own people, and they call that, of course, the Hannibal Directive, to kill a lot of Israelis. This is Israel killing the Israelis to make sure that they don't get taken hostage by the Palestinians. I mean, you guys know that. And everybody they talk about it in Israel. It's written in the newspapers. But we're supposed to believe this myth that, and I think it's the number. What do they have that number at? 1,200 and something. When in fact, I think it was 300 Israelis died, not 1,200. And most all of them were killed by, maybe all of them, maybe every single one of them was killed by Israel and not by. But you're not. Shh. Oh, shh. You know. Oh, there's so much of this fake stuff. I mean. If you guys haven't heard it, I guess I gotta actually remind you, because it's trying to be lost within the, within the media. And the hostages were very well taken care of, and there was no rapes, zero. I remember, who was it? Roger Waters from Pink Floyd. He was on Piers Morgan, and Piers Morgan was insisting that there was rapes, and Roger Waters was saying there was no rapes, and. Yes, there was, said Piers Morgan. And it's like, maybe Roger Waters should have said, were you there? Of course, then Piers would have said, were you there? And then Roger Waters could say, how come there is zero evidence of any rapes? Which is the absolute truth. You know how that is in Israel. They try to embellish everything. It's like, what do they say? They say that, if you kill yourself they say the Muslims believe, if you kill yourself in a bomb attack, you strap a bomb to yourself and kill Israelis, that when you get to heaven, you get 40 virgins. They think that's what the Muslims believe, and of course the Muslims don't believe that. That's a bunch of fake stuff to make you think that they're stupid idiots. So anyway, I wasn't even going to be talking about this stuff, so let's keep going here. So anyway, remember when we were all kind of pissed off whenever you hear about, and really shocked when you hear like at one bombing raid that Israel kills like 70 Palestinians. Remember, that was like the first year we were going like, wow, and you know how bad it is and everything. It was big news. But that happens all the time now. I mean, there was a lull, of course, but it just now started all up again. And of course, everybody is completely acclimatized, like I was saying. And what was it? Just, where was this? The amount that they killed just, recently. And of course, they bombed the hospitals, and they herd them into safe zones. They herd them into shelters, and then they bombed the shelters. They did a lot of that. I have some of that in my notes a little bit later. As of course, as time went by, they were doing that as well. So, and there was even one surgeon that fled because they were trying to kill him. They killed a lot of doctors, a lot of nurses, a lot of healthcare people. I don't know, terrible. And well, I'll get to this. Maybe I wrote it here. Let's see. Yeah. One part of it is here. So yesterday they bombed some place and they killed at least, they said, 140 Palestinians. You know, of course, I say the word at least because nobody really knows, because it's not over yet. This is really strange. Look at this. This is, of course, this is actually where people would go in, but it's very obvious that this thing is closed, whatever the heck it is. There's no lock on the door, or maybe it is a locked door. Wow, this is incredible. It looks like maybe some of these things, there's nobody living there. I wonder if they're going to tear this building down. Wow, how would they do that? Sorry to get distracted. You don't see some of this stuff very often. So somebody obviously lives on this side because they're using their balconies as storage areas. That's what they do here. And this is locked up too. It's not like every person that lives here. I don't know. This is weird. Maybe, but it looks like people live there. There's curtains. But it's like, does everybody have a key to that one lock right there? The stair. Look at, nobody's did the stairs. No maintenance on this. Wow, something is very fishy here. Maybe they're going to condemn this building. This looks like definitely people walk in there. They have more modern doors, things. Anyway, so these people that they killed yesterday, it was in a safe zone, I guess. They set up safe zones and bomb them. Yesterday they bombed this school called Al Hassyaneh. It was a school turned into a shelter, and that's where they killed at least 140. And of course, people, I don't know, probably there's rubble. They have to uncover all the rubble to find out if more people died, which definitely they did. And of course, some people are so badly wounded that they're not going to live. So, over the last 24 hours in all of Gaza, they killed 500 Palestinians in one day. Wow. And of course, again, most of them were children, as usual. Nice people, those Israelis. And of course, like I said, this operation is called Gideon's Chariot. And I guess it's they're launching this, and this is the attempt to take over, I think, the entirety of Gaza Strip. I saw that's written somewhere that they're trying to take over the entire thing now. And they were herding Palestinians to the south, and of course, they also just started bombing the south as well. So, good luck on that one. I mean, Palestinians, sorry to say. May 15th is when they started Gideon's Chariot. Okay, as far as the Trump and the Putin call, I mean, I don't know if anybody expected that much. Obviously nothing came of it or something, and they were kind of, apparently they had a nice conversation, kind of joking around. Of course, nothing was decided. I don't know if anybody was even thinking there would be anything decided. And let me walk over there. But the one thing I think that it's not really concrete, it's not a big deal. There was some sort of agreement that Vladimir Putin is supposed to write a memorandum, maybe about what he, as if nobody knows, what Russia requests, and maybe, of course, they just change things a little bit. They're I don't know if you call them red lines or what they really want to get out of this whole thing that Joe Biden and his buddies in Ukraine and elsewhere started to try to enact a strategic defeat of Russia to become the masters of the entire universe. So let's see. I don't know. That's going to be written in that memorandum. And I guess before he called Putin, he called Zelensky and asked Zelensky, what does Zelensky want Trump to ask Putin? What should he ask Putin? Isn't it strange? Because whenever Trump talks to Zelensky, he doesn't call Putin first. Say, what do you want me to talk to Zelensky about? And then, of course, I don't even know why. I don't know. It's very questionable why he would call him anyway. And right after Trump talked to Putin, he called some of the EU leaders. He called Macron and Merz and I think Meloni and Ursula von der Leyen, of course. I don't know about Kaja Kallas. And he even called Stubb, old Stubby. The girls call him Stubb. I don't wonder why that is. The leader of Finland, he's kind of a tall guy, but they call him Stubb. There's something else maybe kind of stubby about the guy. But anyway, that's his name, Stubb. Hey, Stubb, get out of here. Anyway, they didn't call Orban or Fico, which are, for the most part, neutral. So he only called the leaders on the European side of the Hate Russia Club. So I don't know who the big leader of the Hate Russia Club is. Is it Zelensky, or is it I don't know. Maybe there is no big leader. Well, Zelensky. Let's just say Zelensky, or those that control Zelensky, the men behind the curtain that we don't know about. And there's a lot of them, of course. I don't know. Who knows if Zelensky can think for himself anyway. And also, he called the Vatican too. So, and it looks like the Vatican they're trying to get the Vatican somehow into this. So it kind of raises the question. As you know, Russia is for the most part Orthodox Christian, but they have Catholicism there. It's sort of like here in Belarus. I don't know. There's a lot of Catholics. Maybe the majority is Orthodox Christians, but there's a lot of Catholics here as well. So a lot of Catholics, and of course they have everything. They have other Protestant religions, and I mean, I've met people. They even have Seventh-day Adventists. I haven't really, there's very few mosques. I think I saw one. I don't know if I even saw it. I can remember seeing like that there is a mosque or something somewhere. I think it's in Minsk, but I don't know that I saw that, or if I just was sitting in a car and driving by or whatever. Let's see. But even for these people, all these evil people, there is, of course, reasons for them to want this conflict to end. But of course, only on their terms, of course. Donald Trump, of course, he wants it on his terms. Everybody wants it on their terms. Russia wants it on their terms. But of course, who was aggressed upon? Who are the aggressors? The West were the aggressors. And so they're trying to make sure that somehow Russia loses something, because Russia has gained so much, by being 20 times more powerful than Ukraine and the West combined. So I don't know, but they're trying to, how can we get Russia to lose something that they've gained from this war? How do we get them to lose? It's like, does the U.S. ever lose? What about Israel? Do they ever lose whenever they gain something in a war? Do they ever lose it? No. Nobody makes them lose it. But of course, the West feels they can make Russia lose something from it. So that's what it's all about. And I don't think this is really going to end ever. And what I mean by ever is I think this is going to go on for at least an entire generation. And you've got to ask, well, why do I say that? Because if you look at how things are right now, the Russians look at the Ukrainians as their brothers, and of course, and the Belarusians as well. But the Ukrainians look at the Russians as subhuman, filthy species. And if you don't even respect somebody that you're going to deal with, how do you expect, in fact, somebody that is actually dominating over you, how do you expect some kind of a rational, a rational result to come from any kind of a peace negotiation? It's just not going to happen. And all those people, they're conditioned since childhood, to hate Russians. And I'll tell you what, I'll tell you something else that I just heard recently. Somebody was telling me that they went to somebody's house. They have a child. Matter of fact, they have maybe it's a teenager or a young adult child as well. And that person, of course, was involved in hostilities against the government. That when they were trying to overthrow the government in 2020. I don't know how old the guy. To be honest with you, I don't know. Maybe he could be as old as 30 years old. But anyway, he was first jailed, and then Lukashenko let him out of jail. So he was out of jail, and immediately he went to Poland. So he's in Poland now, and he's very, very possibly he's maybe in one of these military brigades that are supposed to go after Lukashenko, or the military here, the government. I have no idea. But he was raised, apparently, by his father to have a seething hatred of Russia. And this guy, he lives here in Belarus. He's running around on the streets. He lost his job because he goes around to all of his employees spewing anti-Lukashenko stuff. Just bad-mouthing Lukashenko the whole time. And he's still running around free. He's never been in jail. And now he's got a smaller child. I believe he's like 7 years old or 8 or something like that. I don't know. But this kid goes around, kill all Russians, kill all Russians, kill all Russians. And it's like very strange, But this guy, the father, apparently he really does need to be locked up. And I don't even think he's under investigation, to be honest with you. But a lot of people know that this guy's going around and spewing this stuff. He's even, he's married. It makes you wonder. His wife, I don't think, likes it at all. But I don't know. Just, it'd be a quick way to get rid of the guy if he's such a bad guy. Is just tell the authorities what he's doing. Short investigation will prove that she's accurate on that. But anyway, okay. Let's Kaja Kallas. She used to be the leader of Estonia, and as you know, she was a young girl growing up in the Soviet Union, and her family, they had want for nothing. They had everything. Very privileged. They had a huge apartment and lots of benefits. So they were of the upper echelon in Estonia, and a lot of money went to a lot of these Soviet republics. Estonia is one of them. And so she lived a luxury life then, and now she's big on the hate Russia crowd. It makes you really wonder why that is. And I remember putting out, and it's like, this is something I forgot. Somebody reminded me. But I forgot that she put out in a video that they need to get more Russian children to die. Probably somewhere on the lines of what happens in Palestine. It's incredible, and I guess it's on video, and I guess you can find it. It was like some small meeting. She's sitting down in a chair, and I think she probably knows a camera is on her, and then she says they need to find a way to make more Russian children die. I mean, that's really nice. Then no, but she's not a Nazi. I mean, how do you, oh gosh, she's just an ethno-racist, which is what a Nazi is, actually, an ethno-racist. That was a new term. I think it was a Iranian professor, I guess, that put that out. I gotta find out what that guy's name is whenever I see him again, because that's a very good term, I guess. It doesn't sound like fascist, or anti-Semite. Doesn't sound like any of those, Anything that everybody, nobody wants to hear and they abhor. But let's see, what else do we have here? Okay. Oh, and remember Zelensky, he said himself that he hates Russians, and he calls them a species. He says he hates them more than 99.9%. Makes you wonder, why don't you just friggin' say 100%, guy? More than 99.9%. I mean, I don't know. Maybe he needs to go to math school with what's her name, Annalena Baerbock or something like that, which actually loves him. You know, they're a good couple. Makes you wonder. Anyway. Anyway. How are you going to deal with these people? How are you going to make a sustainable peace? And that's what Russia wants. It wants to get rid of the root causes of the war. You know, and what is the root cause of the war? It's obviously it's their total and utter hatred of Russians. Are you going to get rid of that? And that's of course Nazism. It's ethno-racism, and you know, it's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. It's in their textbooks. It's spreading all over. And as you know, I mentioned a lot of other people are putting it in the textbooks in Moldova. Similar things, so that I guess everybody's in line, you know, to say that Russia is a bunch of filth and all that, and you know, and they're backwards people and they're idiots or something. And I don't know, maybe the Moldovans will also have been contributors to building the pyramids, as the Ukrainians claim they were. So, wow. Yes. And not to mention the fact, of course, you guys all know that they say in Europe that they want a war with Russia. They want to start a war, you know, at the earliest, I think. Of course, maybe it's like Hitler. He wanted to start the war, I think, in 1945. It started much earlier because he was, you know, anxious to keep taking over more and more and getting more and more powerful. You know, he invaded these countries thinking that they would roll over. You know, he wanted to get the oil supply from Norway, so they invaded Norway and I don't know, the Sudetenland, actually because they really wanted to be part of Germany back then. And yeah, and on and on and on. So anyway, it kicked off a little bit too early, and I don't know. It makes you really wonder if the West is going to try to kick this war off a lot earlier than they want. They want it to start, I mean, at the earliest in 2029, and but I think even up to 2031. You know, that's what I think in Norway and Sweden and Germany. You know, a lot of their military people and analysts. That's when they want to start the war against Russia. No, but of course, obviously they'd be provoking. Oh, no, don't say that. Russia will start the war. You know, it's just like what happened in the Donbass. You know, they will do everything possible to provoke Russia so that they can have the moral high ground. You know, and it's just like what I said the other day. See, they're going a little bit too early. What did they do? I think it was Gabon. Gabon, they were getting Russian oil, and it was in the Baltic Sea, and Estonia stopped them. I don't know if they seized the oil and things like that. It's like, because that's what they did in the grain. Remember in the grain embargo thing, they took the grain from the Russian ships, you know, and all sorts of things. And they were running weapons to Ukraine, and that's why the grain deal had to stop. Oh, but shh, we're not supposed to talk about that. We're not supposed to know that. Zelensky, this is the funny part. This is a really funny part. As you all know, this media showman Zelensky, trying to always set things up for the media, you know, to try to either embarrass or destroy somebody, do something, you know, to get his way. He uses, and J.D. Vance even said that, you know, and it's weird that J.D. Vance is kind of, and Zelensky are kind of acting like buds now. Something is not going on. Something's not good here. But anyway, he's trying to do the same thing again. But he said after this Trump and, well, he probably didn't like that one bit that Trump and Putin had talked by telephone. So he says he wants again to meet with the Russians. And you say, oh, that's pretty nice. Oh, maybe he wants to actually, you know, make it actually to facilitate something, to actually really this time facilitate a peace. But it's not that. He said, I also want the U.S. to be there. I want the U.K. to be there. I want the European Union to be there. I want Macron to be there. I want those people. And he's saying, well, even maybe, he said, maybe even the Vatican and Switzerland. He said Switzerland too. He didn't say Orban. He didn't say Fico. So he didn't say Hungary. He didn't say Slovakia. He didn't say China. You know, he wants to make sure that he has this huge meeting with all of these people, and probably they all will have a little delegation of their own besides. And then there will be Russia on one side and all of these people, in other words, to gang up on Russia and to make Russia, okay, like the big gangs, what is it going to be, 20 to 1? Do you think Russia has a chance? Absolutely not. I'll tell you what, even if they got Orban, even if they got Fico, even if they got China, it would still be far, far, far too many. In other words, they wanted to force Russia into surrender. That's basically what Zelensky is trying to do. He's still trying to force Russia into a surrender. And of course, he went back on all these things. He said he's still going to try to get the territories. I mean, there's all sorts of things that he said there. So, in other words, Zelensky, if they want to deal with him, he is not ready yet. And I guess he appointed a permanent team to handle negotiations, of trying to hammer out a peace, which of course he doesn't want a peace. He would take a peace. Like I said, I just announced that he would take peace, but if it's all on his terms. And he said he is not going to give up on trying to get into NATO. And some reporter asked him something. What was that again? I didn't write it down. And I don't know if it was about. Well, anyway, he said, "Oh no, it's written in our Constitution," and that could have been even that about NATO. So he doesn't want to give up on any of all of his demands, and they were demands. And matter of fact, he demanded that other meeting with the UK, US, and all those people. That's a demand. That's what they wrote it as, a demand. It's like 15 against 1. I'll tell you what, I'll go. Russia can send me. And I'm not even joking here. I would clean the floor with all of those fake old lying jokers, I would clean the floor with all of them. You could send one person. Why don't you send Lavrov? Maybe he could do the same thing. He probably could. He's no dummy. Send Lavrov. Matter of fact, just send 2 people. Send Lavrov and Maria Zakharova against all of those people. And probably in all, there might be 50 of them against 2 people. And I'll tell you what, they'll clean the floor. They'll literally clean the floor with all of these, if you don't pardon my expression, dirty bastards. These are all a bunch of greedy, corrupt bastards. And they'll clean the floor with them. I hope I'm allowed to say that on YouTube. Okay, I always check the box. It's not for children, so... Yeah, well, and anyway, some of the things, obviously, they can talk about, I was writing them down here, is talk about, what was happening right after 2014. That's, of course, even before the military operation, of course, is when Ukraine started bombing their own people. They were bombing their own people. Isn't that strange when you talk about Saddam? He was gassing his own people. And whoever, or what knows it, who they were accused. Assad was gassing his own people. Saddam gassing his own people. All that kind of stuff, which of course all this stuff is not even, I don't know, maybe in Saddam's case it was true, so they used it against Assad, which isn't true. And but Zelensky. And why doesn't anybody go around and say that Zelensky was bombing his own people? I mean, not Zelensky. Even though it was Zelensky as well. He carried on. Petro Poroshenko was the first one. He even talked about it. I know he talked about it on the radio. I think he maybe even talked about it in a video. And he was bragging. He was bragging about killing their own people, about bombing those people, as you all know. And there was the Minsk negotiation process, and he said basically they lied. They lied to Russia. They had no intention of following that. And he said, we're going to be bombing all those people, making it so they all have to hide in their basements. All their children will be hiding in the basements, and our children will be going to school. And then our children will go on to university, and theirs will be completely uneducated. And then, of course, you say, oh, he's probably saying, yeah, that'll make them like what? Make it true that we say that they're an inferior species, the Russians. But it wasn't the Russians. That was part of Ukraine at that time. Makes me wonder. So why does he hate those people if they were always Ukrainian, and Ukraine drug the Black Sea, and a lot of that territory borders on the Black Sea, but yet it was always Ukraine? And how in the heck did those Russians get there? But anyway, the ancient Ukrainians dug the Black Sea with their bare hands. That's what they said. Okay. Anyway, what else we got? That was one thing right there. kill their own people. Minsk betrayal. What about shooting down that MH17, that airplane? Why isn't that black box released? That's very strange. If Russia shot it down, it would be on the black box, and Great Britain would be releasing it. And you guys, that's a whole nother story. I won't get into that, but that's fake. What about Bucha? You know, when these people, these dead bodies, they defied the laws of physics and all that. Of course, that was a big bunch of BS as well. Okay, another story. And what about Zelensky when they have all these ceasefires and things? His ability to obey the ceasefires. Oh, yeah. What about the textbooks, writing all that stuff? And I'm sure Russia still has some of these textbooks written in Ukraine, what they're teaching them in schools about what they think of Russia. You know, they should bring those. They should bring those to this peace negotiation and show everybody. And then you want to talk about the root causes, ending the root causes of why this thing is all going on. And that's very interesting. You know, it's right there in front of your face. To make those people have a total and utter seething hatred, disgust, and disrespect for anything Russian. Wow, that's actually how they act today. Wonder how that came about. So, and what about these biolabs? They should mention the biolabs too. You can't say, there's another word that starts with W, and it goes W-E-A, W-E-A-P-O-N. You can't mention that along with those other two words. So these were just biolabs, you know. What were they doing in those biolabs? What evidence? And of course, on the day after this special military operation started, Zelensky ordered everything to be destroyed, all the records of what they were doing to be destroyed. Isn't that strange? And there's witnesses to that too, by the way. Oh, they weren't doing anything funny in there. Jeez. Yes. Like I said, I don't know. Looks like Zelensky believes he won the Pope over. Remember? I don't know. I'll tell you what. I heard about somebody else, and I could actually talk to them. They don't know any English, unfortunately, but he is here in Minsk. He's a priest, and he was in Kiev as the authorities were persecuting the Christians there. And I can probably ask him, maybe I should take a translator or something. I think he might even talk. I haven't met him, like I said, yet, but he was talking about all these atrocities that were going on and what the Ukrainian government was doing to priests, not just to priests, but to parishioners or the people there. And a lot of killing of Christians because of the fact that they are Christian. Wow. And he said he knows this, he witnessed it, he was there. So that's going to be kind of interesting. I think I will do that. If you guys actually, hey, leave a comment. Of course, press the like button, don't forget that. And leave a comment if that would interest you. If I could go and maybe not show the guy's face, because you never know. They could come after me too. But talk to this guy, and maybe you can hear his voice. Maybe, I don't know if I'd have to disguise it, of him talking about some of the atrocities of what was going on when they were trying, well, they in effect did destroy the Orthodox Church there, and they created a fake church. You guys all know that. The CIA and Petro Poroshenko created a fake Orthodox church there because the other one was too Russian. So anyhow, let's finish this here. Let's finish this. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, after Israel's attack on Yemen, the Houthis are now imposing a naval blockade of Haifa. I guess it's of Haifa. And so they're threatening to bomb Haifa as well. So mission complete, Donald Trump. And like I said yesterday in that video, the expert military analysts are saying that they probably will not be able to defeat the Houthi. So I don't know, it makes you really wonder, what is the point of them bombing it? And of course, the United States and Donald Trump is going to send as many bombs, he's going to send as many bombs as he possibly can to Israel to bomb the Houthis with. Because he wants to stop the killing. Anyway, say no more, say no more. Houthi doesn't have that much bombs, obviously, as you guys are watching. They don't have sophisticated bombs. A lot of them are getting all shot down by Israel, and they're not trying to kill people, of course. That's why not hardly any people have been killed by any bombings of the Houthi. I think it's maybe 10 or 11 in all in this entire time. Meanwhile, all these people, they've killed hundreds of Yemenites, strong people, and they're destruction upon destruction, just like what Israel does to Gaza, with a lot of dead bodies. Okay, I already mentioned that. It's like, what would Ukraine in one day, they lost over 1,100 soldiers. 1,100 yesterday in one day. Wow, 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 wow. Normally, I think they're losing altogether in a 7-day period. Ukraine, close to, but maybe 4,500, but they lost 1,100 in one day. So if it keeps on going, boy, and any kind of thing like that would be 7,000 in 1 week. Okay, Iran. We have to talk about Iran too. United States is still threatening them. The United States, obviously, what they want to do is to stop and have Iran dismantle their missile program to make it much easier for Israel to attack them, of course. And they want them to stop enriching uranium for peaceful purposes, for any purposes. They don't want them to have any ability whatsoever. And Iran keeps reiterating, we are not making nuclear weapons. That is against our doctrine, is to make any kind of weapons of mass destruction. We are not doing that. We won't do that. But of course, that's not good enough for Donald Trump, because Netanyahu tells him that. Netanyahu tells Trump what he should think. You know, they have no evidence. I think it's the IAEA is on the ground in Iran. They don't find any evidence of Iran making nuclear bombs. So, but they're doing it anyway, somehow. In our imagination, they're doing it, so they have to stop. If they don't stop their imaginary nuclear weapons program, we're going to bomb them. I'll tell you what, anything that they do is not going to be good enough, and the United States is not going to accept it, because they're Iran. And Israel hates Iran, and Israel wants to dominate the region. You know, they don't want any power to come anything close while they are genociding all the Palestinians. It's because these people, they don't like the genocide of Palestinians. That's why they have to be put down, all of them, Iran or anybody. So anyhow, that's about it. Oh, it's not so long of a video. I might be able to get this downloaded before I even get home. But I appreciate you guys watching, and again, let me know if you want to hear something from that priest, and I'll try to arrange that. I believe he's permanently here. He fled, like a lot of people. They have to flee, I mean Christians especially, from Ukraine. I don't know. Anyway, just letting you know, and let me know if you really would want some sort of an interview. And I don't know, like I said, how would I get it in English? Anyway, my Russian is terrible. Let me get a translator. Okay, well, thanks for joining me, and I'll see you guys on the next one. So bye bye.